In the construction industry, certain challenges continue to affect cost, time, and overall project certainty, regardless of the project type and scale. Issues such as fragmented data, limited visibility, and reactive decision making remain common across the sector. While we are witnessing rapid advancements in AI, data intelligence, and integrated digital workflows, the industry now has an opportunity to address these long standing challenges more effectively than ever before. But when applied in the right way, these technologies can bring greater predictability, improve risk management, and deliver stronger value outcomes for clients. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, of course, in today's conversation, the introduction probably gave you a hint that, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence in the construction industry and, the kind of potential it has to transform the overall construction industry and help construction firms create the plans and designs better, schedule projects better, monitor the inventory and cost faster and more effectively than ever before. And without wasting any time, let's welcome Iesh Dixit, co-founder and CEO of PowerPlay, to help us understand the real world ground realities of using AI in the construction industry. Hi, Ish. A very warm welcome to our podcast.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to have you with us today, Ish. And of course, when we talk about construction industry, I think it is one of the industry, I would say, kind of a laggard in terms of
Yeah,
adopting new technologies. But yeah, with the advent of BIM and, now digital twins also coming into picture,
yeah,
we are witnessing, a lot of changes in the industry. But again, we'll probably talk more about it considering the Indian context and landscape.
yeah,
So, before that, let's give our listeners a better understanding about power play, specialization,
yeah,
and, a little bit more about you also, Ish. How has the
yeah,
journey been till date? And, what led you to start power play?
yeah, yeah. Power play, again, the word, when we named power play, we wanted to give a name that is super relevant to the site people as well as the office people. And what more relevant than a cricket word? So to be very frank, that's how we named the company. My background, I'm a graduate from IIT Roorkee. And my father does a lot of construction. My childhood has been spent on construction sites. I was the site supervisor. And after graduation, I was pretty clear that I wanted to start a company. And given my background in construction a little bit, I tried doing a few things, but by 2020, I was pretty clear that, okay, I'm going to build something in this industry. And since I knew there's some problem around digitization and people not having all the data at one place, we started building a software. And the genesis of PowerPlay was actually we had a bulky software made for contractors back office. And when we were selling that product in the early days, one of the common insight that I used to get was, hey, I know that this is a problem, but I don't think my site team is going to use software. That is a common theme around all the business owners and the C-suite thinking that the site team won't be able to adopt a software. And a lot of things changed after 2017, 2018, after the geo wave came in, and a lot of things happened. Because when I was at construction sites of my customers, I saw supervisors using all kinds of apps. And so, yeah, means I think to solve that problem, one of the biggest pivotal things that we did back then in 2021 was to launch a free app for site supervisors. And the goal was to break this mental blocker or a myth that site team won't use an app if it's useful for them. And that really clicked. So we now have more than 1 million users across platforms, all the site people using the product. And that journey was really humbling because we had to solve for the real user at the site. So we had to solve problems which an office person might not come up with or might not ask you to solve. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons most of the software companies could not bring adoption in the industry because they never built for the real user. So yeah, that's the history. Fast forward today, we are doing a lot of other things, but yeah, that's how we were born.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Ish, and also highlighting your journey and probably, how you and your company have carved a distinct position in the industry, with the ultimate vision and objective and keeping a customer focused approach.
Yeah.
Great. With that foundation set in place, now you mentioned about digitization. I think, yes, digital transformation in construction, like I mentioned before, has lagged behind other sectors, probably like retail or manufacturing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Despite clear benefits like reducing costs or improving productivity,
Mhm.
somehow construction still remains a little hesitant and reluctant to
Yeah.
embrace this change. And
Yeah.
again, the reluctance has led to missed opportunities and more inefficiencies, probably in an environment which is so competitive. Why do you think, the construction industry has historically been slower in adapting tech trends compared to other sector? And do you think that AI is beginning to create a practical impact within
Hmm.
the Indian construction ecosystem?
Hmm. Okay, so answer to the first question is like there are multiple points, I think. One of the things is that to digitize construction, it was needed to have a portable device that can go from site to site and which can take in a lot of types of data like images and text and videos. So the birth of phones and that being adopted in the market was one real unlock that in the last, I think, 2 decades that has changed significantly. I think one of the biggest reasons 2 decades ago construction was really behind was this. And the second reason is that the people who are, especially on construction sites, the people who are expected to use the product or digitize things, right? We have to understand that it's not their main job. It's like 10-20% of their job. The remaining 80% of their job is the actual stuff where they have to get things done, right? So, in my opinion, if you are getting in the way of the main job, then the site team or site folks won't be able to adopt the product. So they are responsible for making sure that the vendors are coming on time, the material gets delivered on time. Okay, if the material has come, the labor also has to be on the site. And then whatever we have thought to deliver in this week has to be delivered so that we can raise a bill to the customer, show the measurements, etc. Now, amongst all of this work, they are also expected to put whatever they've done on a system. Now, if that system is not user friendly and is going to take a lot of time to update, it's not going to work. I think that's the second biggest reason because all the products that were made for the office teams, and then the office team said, okay, we need this data, and then there's a big form that is dumped on the site people to just fill it. And a lot of user empathy is not there when it comes to making a product for them. So I think that's the second biggest reason. In fact, if you talk to any software users who switch from any other legacy ERP to PowerPlay, is that their site team was not able to adopt. And the biggest reason was it's very difficult to use. Do I do my main thing or do I do this? Right. And it's not like people are, as you rightly said, people are not very tech savvy. So they're not used to using technical products, right? For example, you might get a training to use AutoCAD, right? And you have to take a training and all of those things. They are not in a job to just use software, so they have not taken training to use the software. So they need a product that's very simple to use. And I think that's the second biggest reason. The last thing which I've started to see, obviously, there is sometimes people don't want to like the projects are so short that there's no value, but those are less amount of dollar value. Lastly, what I've seen is see, whatever data is getting digitized, someone has to make sense of that data, right? And if the data is just being digitized and nobody is making sense and the business is not improving, then the ultimate ROI is not realized. And then if it's not realized, then everybody questions by the end of the year, okay, we digitized, but what happened? So I feel the back office teams after the digitization of the data also need help in improving their performance project by project. Every project they get to learn something, and then with those learnings, can they change something for the next project? Those things also need a lot of analytical plus sort of how do I say a different type of decision making looking at data. And I think that's where now the AI thing is coming up really well because the foundation is the digitized data. But with that data, there are decisions to be made, right? And a great project manager will make a great decision and probably he will continue making great decisions. And if you really want as a business owner that you have a great project manager, one thing you can do is make sure that your project team uses an AI that automatically makes sure that you are in the top 1%. So yeah.
Yeah, a very insightful perspective, Ish. And yes, I think, the challenge of standardizing operations across sites and having a clear communication or a collaboration link between the back office and the field workers on the site, have often slowed the pace of digital transformation. But I think, yeah, with, AI, which is, moving beyond just a futuristic concept, it is now becoming a very practical business tool. And,
Yeah.
we are seeing it help organizations improve their overall project planning, optimize the resource allocation, and, drive better decision making through real time so that, both the teams are aligned and they can monitor the progress and ensure adjustments in real time.
Hmm.
And again, if you talk about Indian landscape, I think these capabilities have the potential to, reduce costs and accelerate the project delivery timelines, which often fail,
Hmm.
especially for large scale infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, I think one of the most prime advantage of AI in construction is, the predictive analytics. And
Hmm.
according to certain statistics, companies using predictive analytics can decrease overruns in projects by as much as
Hmm.
30%.
Hmm.
So it is very important for construction professionals that, with the increase in efficiency demand, the ability to understand the role of AI can play in risk management and forecasting becomes very much imperative.
Hmm.
So, how can predictive analytics help reduce cost and delays and improve the overall
Yeah.
operational efficiency?
Hmm. To answer this question, one of the things that we need to understand is that what has the foundation, like the digitization of construction has enabled, is that earlier everything used to be in silos. And I'm not talking about just like small companies, even in bigger companies, the projects won't be frequently talking to, let's say, the finance, right? Only at milestones or probably when there's dependency. Otherwise, all the interaction and the data sharing happens like only on milestones and everything is in silos now. But that's not how construction works. If you were to train an AI that makes sure that you don't make any mistakes or you do the right things at the right point in time, so that whatever you thought to like do the projects in budget or under a timeline happens, for that it's important that everything comes together. Now when I say everything, I mean the baseline plan, and then whatever progress has happened, and then whatever material and labor was used in that progress, and then whatever asset was used in that progress, everything needs to be linked together. Only if this happens, then the AI can make sense and start predicting what can go wrong and what can go right if suggested actions are taken. And I see a lot of people trying to solve the AI problem in a hurry because they feel AI is here and then, but you can't skip this step. We have to make sure these things are linked. And see, for example, if the AI knows that to do 1 cubic meter of excavation, I need this much time spent by my asset or a machinery, and this much labor, then only you can know, okay, if I have done 1,000 cubic meter of excavation, like, and I used this much machine, did I use it in the right amount? Is my cost going to overrun? Did I like not do it in the time it usually takes? Because these things AI can only know when it has data. And this is where PowerPlay, from the beginning, we have made sure everything is linked together. If you go and ask to any of my customers, why did they choose PowerPlay? They'll tell, okay, everything's linked together. And that's important because in the end, you have to make sense of the data and someone will have to make sense of the data. It can be AI and can be a very smart person in the room, but someone has to do that. So I think that's the foundation, like the foundation plus one layer that needs to take place. And then if that happens, to answer your question, then it's going to be magical. In fact, if you don't even know that how to create, let's say, a schedule or a BOQ for a drawing, but the AI has seen enough data, you don't actually need that skill set. Or probably you need a very expert person to just review the final output because the AI has seen it all and it will just take in the drawings and it will create your work breakdown structure and it will create your bill of quantities and it'll tell you what material would you need, right? And when you do the project and you feed in more information, then it starts correcting you. Hey, we thought this would happen in this much, but it didn't. And I think this is the reason. And that's where the real predictive analytics starts coming in. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, Isha definitely does. And of course, your perspective in terms of how predictive analytics helps project management companies and construction companies in having a more proactive approach was very much different, and I particularly appreciate that because I think like you mentioned, you of course need data in terms of ensuring some precise predictive analytics outputs, and without these, I think. As organizations deal with more complexity, the ability to predict and act on some data driven insights is becoming so crucial and becoming like a more competitive advantage. Again, I think the power of AI isn't just, helping teams automate. It's more about equipping them with the right
Yeah.
intelligence at the right time so that, they can facilitate faster decision making and ultimately, better business outcomes.
Correct. Because see, construction, people say it's just a project management work. I don't think, because the real craft is where the construction is happening. And people who really like doing construction, like my father, they just enjoy the craft. They want to build something and they really enjoy that process.
Mhm.
And I think the AI will make sure that people who love doing that can just do that. And the other things can be taken care by the AI.
Right, right, definitely. And I think each with that, when we talk about AI, I think, India is witnessing a rapid pace of urbanization, and, we have smart cities coming up with more innovative approaches to urban planning and management and overall
Yeah.
sustainability. So when addressing the challenges of this rapid urbanization, particularly a couple of technologies that are coming up and gaining more prominence and momentum is, IoT and digital twins. So how do you see, AI? I mean, of course, digital twins and IoT, they kind of are built on the fundamentals of AI in theory and practicality. But
Hmm.
how do you see the integration of digital twins and IoT in, infrastructure in the coming years in the future?
Hey, I think it's already there. The bigger guys, the people who are really like, we had an event last to last month where a very senior person of ITC was there, right? And we had a long chat around how they're using the digital twin technology to basically make sure that, okay, the quality and the progress are on time. So it's just the new tech is expensive and only the top guys can actually afford it, right? So and that's the nature of every tech. It's expensive in the start and then it gets commoditized. So yeah, I think probably in the future you would be able to build a digital twin using your phone, but today it's a little bit difficult. And so coming back, so to what you asked, that what role does it play? I think again, it is IoT's more about making sure the right data points are collected. But I have a lot of opinion on digital twins because I've tried to build AR, augmented reality, and a VR company before this. And I know that people really wanted to use the tech, but the tech wasn't there yet, right? And it's the same point. Like the bigger guys can bring it and probably they can afford it. And companies will be there who will just do this for the bigger guys and still make a big outcome out of it. So the digital twin actually helps understand. So you can compare a digital twin of your progress, whatever is happening on the site. It can build a digital twin to that. And without even going to the site, you can have a feel, okay, what's happening. And imagine if you have 100 sites and you want to know what's happening and you want to take a feel, because sometimes photos are not enough, right? You want to be there and see, okay, what's happening. So for that, digital twin it's like being there, right? So digital twin is really going to help understand, okay, what's the progress today? What is the quality of that progress today? And how is that changing with time? Because the digital twin is updated probably with a frequency of every week or every, I don't know, every few days. So I think that's the biggest. You can scale construction. If you look, is mostly, you won't find national level players, a lot of national level players. It's very geographically tensed kind of business because you can't scale over a particular number of sites, right? And there are other things also, but this is one of the parameters. And with this, you can actually scale to more number of sites without even being there. So your projects team can handle a lot of sites with a lean team, making sure, okay, they are able to see every nook and corner of the site, the progress, etc. So I think that's where it really contributes.
I agree with you, Ish. And again, with digital twins coming into picture, I think, like you mentioned, scalability was somehow was one of the biggest hurdle for construction companies. But now with digital twins, they can create the virtual replicas and ensure that they're scaling the number of sites in their business without being actually physically present there. And
Mm.
again, with digital twins, with those virtual replicas, they can understand, they can ensure that the site is, the progress, they can monitor that in real time. They can ensure that there's, minimum wastage, or they can optimize their resource allocation, or if there are any changes that needs to be done. So they can do
Yeah,
restart of the construction so that they can avoid that wastage of materials or probably, the surplus of material as well. And I think that's when, it's important where, of course, now when you also mentioned that digital twins is kind of accessible to large scale corporations who can probably invest in such solutions. But
yeah,
I believe over a period of time when, this digital twin becomes more accessible as well as affordable, I think even small to medium sized EPC contractors can
yeah,
probably, unlock their potential in terms of efficiency and long-term value.
correct.
Yeah. With that being said, we discussed about digital twins and AI. But when you talk about, in the Indian context, we also discussed about the rapid pace of urbanization. So with
Hmm.
that, of course, we definitely need a cost-effective infrastructure, yeah, a
Yeah,
solid infrastructure for that matter. And
yeah,
if there's a failure of, that urban planning in India, then
mm,
I think, it will become a difficult problem for the overall country to manage
yeah,
this growth of a population where it doesn't have the necessary infrastructure to accommodate them.
yeah.
Um, how do you think or do you believe that, AI will become a core supporter in India helping achieve its long-term infrastructure and development goals?
Yeah, definitely. So, in fact, PowerPlay's mission is to enable the infrastructure that India would need in the next coming decade. And we need roughly 90 million homes in the next 10 years. And that's not a easy feat to achieve. But yeah, people have done it before. China has done it before. And I definitely feel artificial intelligence is going to help. Here's how I think it would help. So one is, see, a lot of new folks will get into this industry because there are not enough businesses solving this problem. I think lot more people need to get into the industry and start building things. But when such people come in, or like new project managers or new skill is in the market, they would definitely need an AI to complement them and make sure that they do their job the best. Because, see, since it's not an easy feat to achieve, it is going to be really important that all of us do our best. And to do that best, I think AI is going to hold that bar up for even the a new entrant in the industry. And that's for sure going to be needed. So that's, I think that is one of the biggest things which AI will do, because if you look at the number of businesses that does significant amount of like volume of construction, they are very less and they need to go up. And when you are new in business, you need to learn the trade, learn the craft, learn how to do it at scale. All of those things AI will built in, and right. So I think that's there, and we can go into details of each roles, but like the core message is going to be the same, right? It can be in the planning, it can be in the project management, it can be in the procurement, it can be
Mm,
at multiple other departments. But when you start a company, AI is going to make sure that you already start with the talent that is at the top 1%. So I think
right.
it will solve the problem of the skilled labor that you need to get the job done.
Right, Ish. And I'm really glad to see how AI today is no longer just a tech initiative, but it is becoming like a foundational layer of how modern infrastructure is planned, built, and even managed. And I think AI, I mean, the conversation is no longer about whether AI will play an important role in India's infrastructure development, but rather how effectively stakeholders, including the government, can harness its capabilities to create that more efficient and a resilient future-ready infrastructure.
Correct, correct. So it
Great.
goes for all roles, right? Quality
Yeah.
roles. Like you have to make sure the infrastructure is of high quality To make sure the quality is high, you need a monitoring system. All of those things is done by skill, like labor, skilled labor and skilled resources. We need to produce more, but even if we fall short, the AI is going to help.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right, Ish. Um, Also, Ish, to conclude our conversation today, we of course discuss about the possibilities and the impact AI can bring in the construction sector. But of course, no such technology goes without having its own set of challenges in each industry. And I'm sure the construction industry is also facing certain challenges in terms of adopting AI. So, just, if you could mention a couple of challenges and what mindset shift you think the overall industry requires in terms of adapting this technology on a wide scale level?
Hmm. I think the first thing every business owner needs to start thinking is, see, businesses in India, they have some limited budget for software. And having a limited budget for software is okay because the marginal cost of developing software is going down day by day because of the AI development, etc. But as people build more AI based tools, it's going to be, I think, at least 20-30% of the skilled resource cost on an annual level. And it has to be digested by the business owners, which is being digested by like the IT guys today, that half of the salary or probably 30% of the salary of a person is going into the AI usage. And that's a tough thing to digest when you don't have, like, when you have not had a lot of software budget in your company before, right? And I think commercially, that's going to be the biggest thing people need to understand. And in fact, if you look at Jensen from NVIDIA, he has been asking, hey, I think if you hire $1 million worth of engineer, you're going to spend $400,000 worth in AI tokens, right? So that the change is already happening if you look at the IT industry, and that similar thing is going to happen here when we build more AI native tools, which helps the business to become more productive, etc. So yeah, I think that mindset needs to change. People need to be more open while exploring, because the cost to build and to make sure all of this happens is not less. So the intelligence is not that cheap today. Probably in the future it will, but so that's first. The second is, since you asked about the mass adoption at a scale, I think a lot of folks still don't have the right, how do I say, operating procedures, right? Because if you don't have right operating procedures, you can't tell AI how you have been operating, and you can't feed the data to the AI. So I think it is like should be top priority to get any system of record. Like you can make your own, and this is one of the topics we discussed in the last event we had in Bangalore, where the top management in ITC also agreed that if you don't have systems, you don't have data, what are you going to do with AI? You don't even have structured data. So get any tool, get any place where you are storing data, whatever data is required, because the data is nuanced when it comes to training an AI. So yeah, I think these are the two things which is a big challenge, and companies are like us are trying to solve both.
Definitely, Ishan. Thank you for your insights and also highlighting the kind of role power play is playing in terms of encouraging more construction companies to adapt tech-driven and AI-driven software to improve their overall business efficiency. And I think digitization lays the groundwork while AI increases the pace. So together, I think they can shift construction industry from a very fragmented and reactive environment towards a more collaborative, which is again driven by data. So
Yeah,
projects can move faster, risks can surface earlier, and decisions can happen with better information behind them.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ish, for your time and effort to be on our
Thank you.
podcast today and,
No,
helping us understand that traditional execution models in the construction again are, starting to show their limits. And I think meeting the country's development ambition will require new tools. And that's where I think AI is coming up as a new operating habit. Thank you for sharing your insights, Ish. It was lovely talking to you.
no problem. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Ish. So, this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion around the role of AI and digital twins in the India's construction landscape, and how I think in the future, intelligence driven by data will become as essential as physical materials on site in the coming years. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes, and you can view all our previous episodes on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.